Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective. With pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Saturday, November the 6th, Ian Cameron with you. We'll have Jimmy Murphy with us momentarily. He doesn't make many appearances on the weekend, but he will be joining me momentarily on the show and help me break down the Saturday card. We might have Andrew McInnis as well. He's away. Alex will be back tomorrow, so that's where we stand. But we're here. We're ready to talk Saturday NHL, and we got Jimmy with us now.
What's up?
Looking forward to this Saturday card, Jimmy. It's great to have you on a Saturday. Welcome.
Yeah, rare Saturday that I'm home. Usually I'm out spending the day with my daughter, but she's got some plans today, and I am at my home studio and ready to go, brother.
Let's get to it. We got a huge card, 12 games on this slate. We'll start with Tampa Bay and Ottawa, the only afternoon game today. Tampa Bay minus 180, road favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the under in this one. Lightning losing to Toronto 2-1 in overtime in their last game. Ottawa getting thumped by a shorthanded, injury-ravaged Vegas team in their last game, 5-1. Although a little deceiving, that score, because Ottawa was getting some good chances in that game, and one of the better games from Robin Lehner this year in net for the Golden Knights. Played extremely well in that victory. So bounce back time for both of these teams. A Tampa Bay team that's coming off a loss to Toronto. Tampa Bay normally is an automatic bet for me, Jimmy, for years. Knee-jerk off the loss because they're so good in that role. I'm not so sure today. I certainly lean maybe Tampa in regulation here. You can get that at a little bit better price than certainly the minus 180. But, they're banged up a little bit. And now, of course, also, Mikhail Sergachev now serving a 2-game suspension for that. Really shouldn't have done it. I mean, it was totally needless to fly across the ice and elbow to the head of Mitch Marner the other night against the Leafs, and he's going to pay the price for it, a 2-game suspension. Tampa Bay, John Cooper saying we pretty much gave them the win with the turnover. Actually, it was Victor Hedman. Not many games where you say he's the GOAT or he's the culprit for a loss, but giveaway led to the Leaf overtime goal. Or the tying goal, I should say, in the third period, and a penalty that he took on a breakaway leading to the power play that gave the Leafs the win the other night. So he'll certainly be looking to bounce back. I lean to the Tampa regulation minus 120, although I don't know if I'll bet that. I might bet the over, though. It's 6, and I'm just buying into series history here in this series because Tampa and Ottawa, the one thing we've gotten is high-scoring games head-to-head. 5-1 to the over the last 6 meetings in Ottawa, 9-2 to the over in the last 11 head-to-head meetings here with the Lightning and the Sens. And we kind of talked about it with Ottawa. Last 2 games, they've been involved in some high-scoring games. In fact, there's 4 of the last 5 Ottawa games have seen at least 6 total goals. So this might be a game, too, where after Tampa scores 1 goal, a lot of those games where they get shut down, they usually like to show a little bit more offensively in the next game. You could see that here, and certainly Ottawa is not exactly shutting teams down right now the last few games. So I will bet the over, and I just lean to Tampa in regulation. Jimmy, what do you like here, Bolts and Sens?
Yeah, I'm over on a lot of things here. Give me the over in the first period. I think this is going to be a wild one here in Ottawa. I'm going to stay away from the side because a part of me thinks that Ottawa could catch them sleeping here in terms of how they view this underrated Sens team. So I like the first period over and the total over in this game.
All right, first period over. You can get that at minus 1. It looks like over 1.5 minus 130 right now with the first period over and the full game over. It opened 6.5 too, so I like that it's dropped down to us. And look, Tampa's been an under team a lot this year, but Ottawa's kind of really had trouble keeping the puck out of their net. Nikita Zaitsev may not play on the blue line, and he missed the last game. And I mentioned that because he gives you nothing offensively from the blue line, nothing. So it's actually, I think, a plus for the offense, maybe a little bit minus for the defense that he's out. And instead, Holden is going to take his spot, and he's a little bit more of a offensively capable, better skater as well, puck mover. So I think that could lead to a little bit of more of a quicker pace for Ottawa from the back end as well. The next game could be the game of the day, an absolute beauty of a hockey game here. Carolina and Florida. We've got Florida minus 135 home favorites, 6 the total in this game. How about that, Jimmy? 9-0 Carolina Hurricanes. They're a road underdog in this game against the Florida Panthers. Telling price here. in this game, that maybe this could be the first loss for the Carolina Hurricanes. As we know that Florida, while they have lost a game, it was just in a shootout to Boston. They've yet to lose in regulation. This should be a hell of a game. I don't want to go against either of these teams. They both played well. They're both teams that I'm looking to back and bet on rather than bet against. Carolina, it looked like they were on the verge of their first loss against Chicago earlier this week, but they erased a 3-2 deficit in the third period, and they come back to beat Chicago 4-3 in that game. Been very impressed by the Hurricanes. Freddie Anderson's been terrific in net, and he'll be back in between the pipes here for the Hurricanes tonight. I also like Vinny Trocheck here against his former team, maybe as a goal scorer prop. I like those spots where you always have the guy that plays against the team he used to play for. I think that could be something you look at here in terms of a prop in this game. When you look at recent series history, Carolina's done well against Florida. 6-1 the last 7 meetings, 6-1 in Florida in the last 7 head-to-head meetings. And this has been another over series history, Carolina and Florida. I remember we talked a lot last year on this show, Carolina, Florida games, and me being on the over in a bunch of those. And that's what I'm going to be on here rather than pick a side, because I like both of these teams. I think we'll get up and over this total. And I cashed a ticket with the over for Florida against Washington in their last game, noting that 2 starting defensemen were out, Nudavara and Radko Gudas. And look at what happened against Washington. You saw that Florida defense look a little loose the other night against Washington. Even though they won that game, they blew the lead. They let Washington score 4 times, and that defense could still be without both of those guys tonight, Nudavara and as well as Radko Gudas. So keep that in mind. And again, 2 of your 6 starting defensemen and 2 of your better shutdown defensemen as well. So that could once again, just like it did in the Florida-Washington game, that could open the door for some more goals tonight between these 2 teams. So nothing on the side. Respect. That's like, I have nothing but love and respect for you. That's what I feel about Carolina and Florida right now. So I'm not going against either one. Just give me some goals. I like the over. Jimmy, what do you think here?
Well, I think a key thing we have to look at here, and it's not getting a lot of news here, is Sam Bennett is on the IR now. And you could argue that he's been their MVP thus far in Florida, even more valuable than Barkov.
Very bad news for them.
Big loss for the Florida Panthers right now. And that's why I'm going to go with a Jimmy reverse puck line in this one, folks. Give me the Carolina Hurricanes -1.5, and I'm also going to jump on that over with you. And I like the first period over as well. So 3 plays for me there, but the big one being the reverse puck line for the Carolina Hurricanes.
All right, and you're going to get obviously a terrific price. +285 is what we're looking at for Carolina, -1.5 goals. And look, this is a game where the draw for Terry Edelman, like in the draw, I wouldn't argue that's probably going to be a close game. And look, the draw, credit to Alex B. Smith, our colleague, our line mate. He had the Washington, Florida draw the other night as his best bet on the show at +320. So an excellent call there. And yeah, I wouldn't talk anyone out of the draw. Could be close game. It's just fascinating here that we've got Florida not just favored, and obviously they're at home. That's part of it, but -140. Favored in this game against an undefeated Carolina team. Yeah, with no Sam Bennett. The good news is for Florida's got a lot of forward depth, but you're right. Bennett's numbers have been great this year, so he will absolutely be missed. You're talking about a guy that had 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points before getting injured.
Yeah, and the other thing too, guys, I would say is that look out for the goaltending situation too. Something to watch in Florida going forward. Not that Spencer Knight is anything bad. He's a great backup to have, but Bobrovsky now is day to day, and there's some issues going on there. He might not even be able to back up Spencer Knight tonight. So something to keep an eye on with Florida going forward.
All right, next up, Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto -130, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. The Leafs found a way against Tampa, and that game could have gotten away from them. They didn't have a good first period, better second period, but couldn't score. And then they really had Tampa taking it to them in the third period. And Jack Campbell, that might have been one of the better goaltending 10-minute sequences he's had, I guess, down the stretch in that third period. He made some unreal saves to keep that game 1-0 and give Toronto a chance to tie it, which they did in the final minute, and then they won in overtime. Leafs got their confidence back, and that was a big win. They didn't even play. That's a good sign for the Leafs that they didn't even play their best against a pretty good Tampa Bay team still and won the game. I mean, that's definitely a confidence booster. They've won 4 in a row. They came out through the dark side of the abyss, and now they're feeling good about themselves again. But now they got that old arch nemesis here, the Boston Bruins. And the Boston Bruins have owned Toronto in the playoffs, and you could even say they have owned Toronto in the regular season for the most part. They've won 4 of the last 5 meetings in the regular season. Now, those were 2 years ago because they haven't played each other since 2019. Fascinating that I read this and handicapping this game. It's hard to believe because he's been the head coach for a while now. This is the first time for Sheldon Keefe coaching against the Boston Bruins. Can you believe that? I mean, it's absolutely stunning that this is the first time that he's faced the Boston Bruins. So shocking to see that, but that's what happens with the schedule, of course, being altered. Remember, they faced Boston October 22, November 15, and remember, Babcock didn't get fired till December of that season. So, yeah, this is going to be a first for Keefe against the Bruins. Now he's going to see a lot of them moving forward. I lean to Toronto here. I really do. I like the way they're going. Just like with the Tampa game, Tampa, if they lose to Toronto, they're like, it's just one regular season game. For Toronto, it's like measuring stick time. Tampa Bay, the defending champs, Boston's just completely dummied them over the years. And I think for the Leafs, it matters to play well here, keep this win streak going, and pick up a home win against the Boston Bruins. So I like Toronto a bit here, minus 130. This is another one I'd lean over because 3-0-1 to the over in the last 4 meetings in Toronto between the Bruins and the Leafs as well. So hopefully there's some goals in these first 3 games because I'm leaning toward the high side with the total in each of these first 3 games. Jimmy, what do you think here? Bruins and Leafs.
Yeah, this one's a tough one for me. I think it's a pretty evenly matched game right now. I mean, the Bruins obviously took care of business against Detroit there, and Patrice Bergeron, I mean, just what a show he put on. Really shut up some local radio people. I don't know if you heard what happened, but a couple local radio announcers on 98.5 The Sports Hub were questioning his heart, of all things, saying it wasn't in it anymore and he needs to retire.
Just because a guy's struggling doesn't mean he doesn't care anymore. Just lost his will to win. I mean, come on.
It's one thing to say maybe Father Time's catching up a bit. That's fine. But to question a guy's heart, I mean, it's just insulting. And, I was kind of going at it with them on Twitter, just complete morons. And that's the problem, guys. I mean, sometimes I really wish I lived in Canada because down here, nobody knows what they're talking about when it comes to hockey on sports radio. So anyhow, like this is going to be a great game. I'm going to stay away from the side here, but I'm with you, Ian. I like that over. I mean, it's going to be rare that we see an over 5.5 between the Bruins and the Maple Leafs. It's usually going to be a 6.5. So give me that over 5.5 in this, and that'll be my one play on this.
Yeah, by the way, we got Campbell in. Campbell worries me. Campbell's been excellent, and that's a big reason why that was low scoring because Tampa had a ton of chances, and Campbell was just like a 10 out of 10 on the goaltending quality save scale. He had a bunch of those, Campbell, in the win against Tampa Bay. It's going to be Linus Ullmark tonight in net for the Boston Bruins in this one, and he is what he is. He's capable of having a good game, and he's capable of struggling, and he has been all right this year, 3-1. 2.23 goals against, 927 save percentage. And to be honest with you, he's been as good, if not better, than Swayman so far. So basically, that's exactly why they are going with Ullmark and giving him some shots in net here. But I still think we can get over 5.5. And like I said, 3 of the last 4 meetings between these two teams in Toronto have gone over the total. Colorado, Columbus. We've got Colorado minus 180 road favorites in this game. 5.5 the total. We all like Columbus in some form. Even I was the person of the Ice Guys crew that was least interested in Columbus, and even I still had a small bet on them against Colorado earlier this week. I know Jimmy liked Columbus, Alex liked Columbus, Andrew liked Columbus against Colorado, a ravaged team earlier this week. But now you got the shoe on the other foot a little bit with Colorado now looking for redemption against Columbus after losing that game. Although even with all the injuries and absences, in that last game, they still almost came back and won. They forced overtime, and then Columbus ended up with the 5-4 victory in that game. We'll see how they fare here in the rematch between these two teams. By the way, the good news for the Avalanche is it looks like they're getting not just a little bit healthier, but potentially much healthier. They're not going to have everybody back. Cale Makar's still out, and he's going to be out for a while. Andrei Burakovsky's questionable, but Mikko Rantanen is going to be back after missing the last 3 games. He's expected to return. And Devon Toews, probably the best shutdown defender, the best defensive-minded defenseman that the Colorado Avalanche have, is going to make his season debut here for the Avalanche tonight. So great news to see that for Colorado, because this is a really good defenseman. They've got a lot of blue liners. We've said this before, Jimmy, that move the puck well, shoot the puck well, good offensive instincts, but they don't have as many that are just that shutdown blue liner. And to get Devon Taves back from injury is big in that role. So while I liked Columbus the last game, and I liked the over, that was my best bet on the show from that Colorado-Columbus game earlier this week. This game could flip the script a little bit. I think it goes a little bit lower scoring tonight, Colorado-Columbus, especially with Devon Taves back in the lineup. You've got the number one goalies for both teams back in between the pipes. Remember, who did we have in the game in Colorado earlier this week with these two teams? We had Jonas Johansson for Colorado, and we had Jonas Korpisalo for Columbus. We got the number one goalies for both teams tonight in this game. We've got Merzlikins in net for Columbus, Darcy Kemper for Colorado. So this is the one game I would lean under. I think it'll turn into a lower scoring game. And a lot of times in sports, when it's the same two teams playing each other, 2 games in a row in the regular season, if the one game's higher scoring, I like usually the second game to be a bit different, lower scoring, and vice versa. If the first game's lower scoring, second game often can be high scoring. So I think this one will stay under, and I lean to Colorado in regulation. Not sure I'm ready to pull the trigger, but certainly they're going to be wanting to avenge the loss at home to Columbus earlier this week. So if I were to bet it, Colorado minus 110 in regulation and under 5.5 in this one. Jimmy, what do you think? Avs and Blue Jackets.
Well, you just mentioned all the guys that Colorado's getting back right now. That's going to give them some juice, give them some electricity going into this one. And plus, you've got the fuel in them to get a little redemption for that loss the other day. They got their good guys going now. So excuse me, guys. This is a big Jimmy puck line right here. This might actually be my best bet. I'm just going to give it right away here. I think Colorado goes in and takes care of a Columbus team that's got to be mentally hurting right now, knowing that they're going to be without Patrick Laine for a while. That's a big loss.
Yes.
He was finally finding his groove. He was finally living up to the potential in Columbus. Things were harmonious with him. You weren't hearing that he was sulking. Everything was going great. Everything was so positive, and boom, he's gone. So give me Colorado on the puck line in this one. And if I was going to go on the over-under, I would lean a little towards the under, actually, in this. I don't see Columbus scoring too many goals.
All right, good stuff. All right, next up, we've got Detroit and Buffalo. Not one of the more glamorous games on the card, but especially after the first 4 we talked about. But even money here, minus 110, both sides, 5.5 the total in this game. Man, this is a really rough spot for Buffalo because they were just out on the West Coast. They played in Anaheim. They played in LA. They played in San Jose. They played in Seattle the other night, and they've only got 48 hours of downtime, and actually less than that because it was a late game, 10 o'clock Eastern Thursday night in Seattle. West Coast to East Coast trip. Less than 48 hours later, they got to play at home against Detroit. Look, I know this Detroit team lost 4 in a row, and I've lost some money backing them a couple of times now, and Dylan Larkin's still out, and you see the difference he makes. They just haven't had much offense without him. But, man, the spot is just so brutal for Buffalo that I got to look to Detroit here. I do. At even money, it's a brutal schedule spot for Buffalo off the long road trip. I know Larkin's out again, but, after Detroit played, Boston, Toronto, Montreal, Florida, Washington, they've played a tough schedule, pretty rugged schedule, good slate of opponents lately. This is a step down for Detroit, facing a Buffalo team that's struggling again, starting to look like the Sabres team we thought they would be coming into the year and coming home off a long road trip with not very much downtime to catch their breath. I got to look Detroit here at even money. Jimmy, what do you think? Red Wings, Sabres.
I'm staying the hell away from this game. This is a Jimmy pass.
Not a Jimmy puck line, a Jimmy pass there with Detroit and Buffalo. All right, Vegas, Montreal. Montreal minus 110, minus 115, home favorites, 5.5 the total. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's the best way to describe Montreal right now, right? They beat Detroit. Looks like, can we get on a roll here? Thank goodness they played Detroit twice. That 2 of their wins were against the same team, Detroit. Other than that, the wins have been few and far between. They got 1 other win besides 2 wins against Detroit. And then they followed it up with a terrible performance on home ice against the Islanders, get dominated in that game. Really, for Montreal, it's simple. They face a pathetic team. They can win. They haven't beaten really anybody good outside of Detroit twice, and San Jose was in the most brutal spot coming off a long road trip at home for that first game. And San Jose's been terrible in those spots for years. So I look at this as a game where I don't trust Montreal as slight home favorites. I get it. all the injuries that Vegas is dealing with. It's significant, but they did show the ability to rise up against Ottawa, 5-1 the other night. They lost to Toronto. They bounced back. I got Montreal closer to where Ottawa is right now than where Toronto is at the moment. So I think it's probably a winnable game for Vegas. Don't know if I'll bet it, but I lean Vegas. I want no part of the Habs at the moment. There's just not right, not playing good hockey, not playing good defensively. Jake Allen's being hung out to dry. The offense is stagnated all year. The good news is Nick Suzuki scored in back-to-back games. That might be the one thing I look at. Nick Suzuki, maybe to score a goal, because he scored in back-to-back games after a long slump to start the year. Sometimes you ride players when they start to find the back of the net, and maybe I'll do that here with Suzuki. That might be the only bet I make in this game. Jimmy, what do you think here? Vegas, Montreal.
Yeah, I'm all over Vegas on this. I don't know how this is even close in terms of the odds makers, what they're looking at here. Montreal sucks right now. And Vegas, even with the injuries, is still a much better team on paper, the way I look at it. So give me the Vegas Golden Knights on the money line here.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I mean, right now, even with the injuries, Montreal's not trustworthy, and I could see the Golden Knights going in there and getting a W in Montreal against the struggling Canadiens. All right, Minnesota and Pittsburgh. We've got the Penguins -110 to -120 home favorites in this one total. Right now, 5.5, pretty much across the board in this game. Give the Penguins credit. We talked about the COVID-19 issues infiltrating this team going into the Philadelphia game, and they emerged with the win against the Flyers. Give them just a ton of credit. They found ways. They capitalized on their chances when they had them, and the end result was a victory in overtime against the Philadelphia Flyers in their last game. So we'll see if they can follow that up with another good performance here in this one against the Minnesota Wild. Going to be tougher here, but still Crosby out, Malkin out, Rust on the IR, Brian Dumoulin, COVID issues as well. So still a lot of key absences here for the Penguins. On the flip side, the Minnesota Wild entering this game, trying to get they escaped with a win against Ottawa, but they didn't play great in that game, 5-4, but they snapped a 2-game losing streak with that victory. We'll see if they can get back on track here on the road. The road play has been kind of up and down so far this year. There are some absences here for Minnesota, but in terms of Goligoski on the blue line and Zuccarello were questionable, but both of them have been cleared. Zuccarello and COVID-19 protocol, but he's going to play, and Alex Goligoski is going to play after having an upper body injury here for the Wild in their next game. This is tough because I just thought there's just too many absences to overcome for the Penguins the other night, and yet they do what they've done a lot, Jimmy, under Mike Sullivan, is undermanned, shorthanded, other guys step up, their team game becomes even more compact and structured, and they just dig in even more, and their defensive game was solid. Jari was good in net. So I want to back Minnesota here. I don't know if I will. That is the lean, though, Minnesota for me here. Jimmy, what do you think?
I'm going to stay away from the side here just because the Penguins now scare the hell out of me. They just keep proving me wrong. So I'm with you. Like, kudos to them. Kudos to Mike Sullivan for overcoming the adversity they continue to do. But I look at this over-under right now, and I think it's too low. I see a lot of goals in this game. I see the offense. I'm feeling like, guys, I could almost feel like a 5-4, 6-5 type game. I think this could be a fun game to watch, back and forth, a lot of speed out there. So give me that over 5.5.
Yeah, I would lean that way. I might actually bet it. I might, because I'm looking at the series history, 6-1 to the over the last 7 meetings in Pittsburgh, and the Wild have struggled in Pittsburgh too. So that might keep me off Minnesota here in this game as well. Minnesota's gone over the total in every home game this year. Let me see what they've done on the road in terms of totals so far. It looks like on the road they've had 3 unders so far. And then what did they do early in the year? I think they've gone under in every road game. Yes, they have. Wow, 5-0 to the under this year. Yeah.
And speaking of overs, I hope everyone out there bet the over in the North Carolina Wake Forest game. Like, wow.
Oh, college football. Yes, of course. They're just going back and forth. Nobody's stopping anybody, and that's actually kind of what I expected.
Yeah, I was watching your show earlier, Ian, and like, you guys nailed it. I mean, there's just no defense in this game. It's ridiculous.
No, there isn't. It was 77 the total for that for a reason. In that
the live one is up to 92 now.
Yeah, no, exactly. And same with Georgia Tech, Miami. I thought that game would be high scoring, and it started out that way as well. So there you go. A little college football here. See, we're faceted sports
Exactly.
analysts here on the Ice Guys. I know this is a hockey show and we stick to NHL and NHL betting, but I personally am a NFL, college football, NBA, college basketball handicapper as well, and better. So we're multi-talented here at the Ice Guys. No question about that. Philadelphia and Washington. Let's see who's more talented in this game to get the victory. Washington minus 160, home favorites, 6 the total in this one. The Washington Capitals have been facing a tough schedule. You look at what they've played lately: Florida, Tampa, 2 back-to-back tough games, and they're winnable games, both of them, and they lost by a goal. So we'll see if Washington can bounce back here. I kind of want to back Washington here, back home, bounce back after 2 losses against Philadelphia, but the price was just a little bit higher than I was anticipating. The Flyers have had no recent success against Washington. Washington's owned this series, 6-1 the last 7 head-to-head. I lean Washington, but I would only look in regulation to get a better price now with where the current number is. Lean Washington in regulation, minus 105 in this game. As far as the total goes in this, 6 for Philadelphia is pretty high because they've gone under in 4 straight. And Washington's gone under in 3 of the last 4. The Florida game went over, but that's been an over series history. And as I mentioned, Florida without 2 starting defensemen, I really think that impacted that game and made it higher scoring. So I'm not sure I'm ready to jump on the over here. I'd lean under, if anything, and I might get there with Washington in regulation, and certainly the way I would bet it from a side perspective if I'm going to get involved in this game. Jimmy, what about you here? Flyers, Capitals.
Yeah, look, the Flyers kind of made me look pretty dumb the other day. It's a team. I'm starting to find them to be an enigma again. I thought they seemed to be getting it together. They looked a lot better than they did last year. Their defense looked a lot better. Carter Hart had been looking better, but they're starting to go a little up and down, and that's why I'm going to stay away on the side here. The Capitals, too, have kind of been a little inconsistent as well. I'm going to go – I feel an under on this. I'm kind of with you. I'm leaning like I see both teams tighten it up here after the last games they had. So give me the under 6 in this game.
Looking at the under 6 here in this one between the Flyers and Capitals. There we go. Lost my spot. So liking the under here between the Flyers and the Capitals in this one. All right, next up we've got the New York Islanders taking on the Winnipeg Jets. The Islanders minus 130, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. It's a weird scheduling spot here. We got the Islanders that played Thursday night in Montreal. It was their first game, in nearly a week, actually. They had 4 days off, actually, between games, and they were fresh. They were ready. They were off, a loss to Nashville, and they bounced back strong. Very good performance, 6-2 win over the Montreal Canadiens. What a night for Brock Nelson, the hat trick. For him, 4 goals, in fact, if you include the empty netter that he scored. So what a night it was for Brock Nelson in that game. We'll see if he can carry that over here to this one against Winnipeg. So the Islanders are the more rested team here, but when Winnipeg's on the back-to-back. But the good news for Winnipeg is no travel. They hosted Chicago last night, a pretty dominant 5-1 win, and they outshot Chicago 33-18. One thing about Winnipeg is this is a better blue line. I like what they did in the offseason with this defense. They upgraded it. They brought in Nate Schmidt. They brought in Brendan Dillon on this blue line for the Jets. And you can tell it's a much deeper, more experienced, and a little bit better in terms of adept in terms of defending in their own zone as well. So that's been key. But the Winnipeg Jets have really, really been pushing the attack, being aggressive in waves offensively at home. We talked about how every home game for Winnipeg's gone over the total this year. Last night's game didn't go over, but it didn't go under either. It ended up pushing 5-1 in that game. This total 5.5 here. Man, the Islanders are such a tough team to bet overs, especially right now. You look at the 5 of their last 6 games, 5-1 to the under in their last 6 games. But they did break out for 6 goals against Montreal. That game went over the total. 5.5 with Winnipeg at home when they haven't cashed an under yet. I'm tempted by the over.
Ian, remember, Hellebuck's back tonight.
Yes, I'm tempted by it.
Hellebuck is not Jake Allen.
Yeah, Hellebuck is not Jake Allen. He's not Eric Comrie either, who has been the other. Although Comrie played well. Comrie didn't face a ton of shots last night, though. Only 18 shots for Chicago, but he played well. The shots he did face, he did have to face a couple really good scoring chances for the Jets last night against Chicago, and he played well. So, yeah, I lean on. Certainly, I feel like I should be on this over 5.5 with this Winnipeg team, who's trended over 7-1-1 to the over in their last 9 home games. But I don't know. There's something
good
about it.
goaltending matchup, though.
Yeah, no doubt about it. With a good goaltending matchup, the Islanders were trending under before that. Let me see the series history. That's what's going to sway me maybe in one direction or the other.
And while you do
4-1-1 in Winnipeg, 4-1-1 to the over in the last 6 in Winnipeg. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take.
You're gonna do it, huh?
5.5. I'm gonna do it. It's 5.5, and it's plus, or it's minus 105. So it's not even a lot of juice. You could even get plus money on over 5.5 at some books here in this game. I would think Sorokin and I beg your pardon, Jimmy. My mistake. Eric Comrie is starting tonight for the Winnipeg Jets, and it's confirmed.
Yeah, I just saw that one of our guys in the chat room there.
Yep. Eric Comrie's in again. So, yes, he's back with the team, Hellebuck, but clearly they're not ready to start. And he did have an illness too, as well. Not just the birth of his kid with his wife, but apparently he had an illness as well early in the week. Maybe he's not fully over that yet. So, as a result,
get on that over.
Eric Comrie, that changes things a little bit. And look, Islanders put up a 6 spot last game, so they're going to be feeling their oats a little bit, maybe in terms of the offense, that they had a breakout game the other night. So yeah, give me over 5.5 there now. Islanders Jets. I'm going to make that official. Jimmy, what do you think here? Islanders Winnipeg.
Yeah, you know what? That just totally swayed me to the over as well. And I like Winnipeg in this, even though they played last night. I just they seem to really thrive when Scheifele comes back into the lineup there. They seem to really get it together there. And this is a team, I think, that we're going to be talking about way down the line as a Stanley Cup contender. So I'm going to go with the over now, and I'm also going to take Winnipeg on the money line.
Winnipeg's just been outstanding at home all year long. Just a great home team, 4-0 at home this year. The Islanders has been now the good news is the Islanders got, I think, replenished a little bit with that little break, even though this road trip is still ongoing. Like this Islanders team isn't going to play their first home game till November 20th. Can you believe that? November 20th is their first home game at the brand new UBS Arena there that they're opening up. So they've still got 4 more games on this road trip after this Winnipeg game tonight. So it's been a grueling road heavy slate for the Islanders, and they might be a good, those last couple games. I'm looking at their schedule. At Tampa Bay, at Florida are the last 2 games of that road trip, before they go home. Those could be fade spots, go against the Islanders spots there, just because it's the end of the road trip. It's 2 good teams they're playing. They're excited to get back home finally. Those could be those dates you circle that maybe you go against the Islanders there as well, because this has been certainly because of the delay in the new home arena getting finished and open for business. They've had to play this incredibly lengthy road slate to begin the year. All right, before we get to our next game, DraftKings, official sports betting partner of the NFL and NHL. They have you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. You can still play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code THPN this Sunday at DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL and NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. 1 per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Sign up for an account. Take advantage of it. All right, down to our last 3 games. And
before we go on to, I just want to say I'm going to switch back on that Washington bet because I didn't realize the goaltending matchup there. So I'm going to go over instead of under on that.
Yes. I had not seen goaltending confirmations. Oh, Martin Jones and Vitek Vanacek. Oh, now I see why the over's taking money. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, yeah. I wasn't officially on the under yet, but there's no way I'm taking the under now.
Yeah,
I agree with that. So they didn't have goalies confirmed about an hour or so ago. Well, last I looked, now they do. You're right. And Martin Jones is automatic. I either look Washington or I look
he's
at
good
the
for
over.
5 goals himself to let in. So.
Yeah. He's actually played a little bit better. I thought actually the Vancouver game that he started, he won that game. He actually played well. But can it continue? I got to see more than just a game or two where he looks good. So, yeah, I would look Washington and over. Washington in regulation might become a bet now for me after seeing that. And over certainly would now be the lean. I agree. I mean, not normally do I just knee jerk the other way when a goal with certain goalies, but Martin Jones is one where I would usually always knee jerk the other way and go toward the over whenever I see his name on the marquee as the starting goalie. So there you go. Martin Jones, Vitek Vanacek, the goalies in that game. And by the way, Vitek Vanacek wasn't great in the start against Tampa Bay, his last game. 3 goals on 26 shots. He's got, okay numbers, but not great. Save percentage is barely 900. So Vanacek hasn't been sparkling either this year for the Washington Capitals. All right, next up, we've got the Seattle Kraken and the Arizona Coyotes. Seattle minus 200 road favorites, 5.5 the total, shaded to the under in this game. Normally, Seattle's a team I prefer at home as opposed to on the road. They only have one road win this year, and that was against Nashville. First couple games of the season, they're only 1-5 on the road, and there may not always be spots I'm looking to back Seattle on the road, but this is one of them. I mean, Arizona is just, I thought, it's time to man up. You're playing Anaheim. You're not playing a juggernaut. This is your chance where you got to be fired up, go in there and say, we got a chance to win a game. And what ends up happening, not even in the game, essentially, just shut down completely. They get shut out in that game. They do score late, 3-1. They lose to Anaheim. It's just a team that cannot find a way to win. Vamelka's tried to hold the fort. It hasn't been good enough. I think Seattle can go in there, get the job done, but I'm going to go for the better price. Seattle in regulation, minus 110 in this game to get the job done. And I'll say this about Seattle too. You look at, who they've played lately: Minnesota, Vancouver, Rangers, Edmonton. Pretty tough schedule, pretty grueling slate for the Kraken. This is most assuredly a nice, big fat step down in class for them against Arizona. So I like Seattle in regulation here, minus 110. And sometimes that first game of the road trip, players want to get it off to a good start. What do you think, Jimmy? Seattle, Arizona?
Yeah, I'm going to look more at the over-under here and go with the under. I just I look at an Arizona team's coming off a long road trip, and they're going to be flat the way I look at it. They're going to come out a little lethargic like a lot of teams do. And it's both teams really don't score that much. So give me that under. Even though it's a 5.5, I'm going to go with that under.
All right, going to go with the under here between Seattle and Arizona. Yeah, I took a shot with a 5 over with Arizona Anaheim last night because I know their defense is bad, but they just aren't scoring. I mean, Arizona's offense is just completely and utterly dormant right now. What have they scored? 1 goal or less now in like 4 or 5 straight games. It's been tough sledding for this Arizona team to find the back of the net. And it's not going to be easy here against Seattle either. You'd think Seattle will have probably a Grubauer in net, although I think they also might consider at some point giving Chris Drieger his first shot and first start in net for the Kraken in the near future, because he just came back and it got activated off of injured reserve. So Chris Drieger is now available for the Seattle Kraken, and I'm sure he'll get a start at some point in the near future, maybe perhaps as early as tonight. New York Rangers, Calgary Flames. We've got Calgary minus 155, home favorites, 5.5 the total, shaded to the under in this game. Rangers, I took a shot with them last night, Jimmy, and I felt pretty good at 4-1, but you're never safe against that lethal Edmonton attack, and boy, did they attack. Power play goals, even strength goals, and one of the goals of the year, and another highlight reel goal added to the ledger for Connor McDavid last night. I mean, just absolutely unbelievable in the neutral zone, walks around 3 or 4 different Rangers, puts it home past Georgiev, and that was the tying goal. And it just felt after that unbelievable goal by Connor McDavid last night that they were going to find a way to win that game, and they did in overtime, 6-5. Now the Rangers, tough, heartbreaking loss after being up 4-1 in that game. They got to go on the road, second night of back-to-back against Calgary. Although Calgary's finding ways to lose games, the last couple, not win them. Back-to-back overtime home losses to Nashville and Dallas in the last couple of games for the Dallas Stars. And all of a sudden, Jacob Markstrom, who was just unbeatable for the longest time, has given up goals the last 2 games and given up goals he probably should stop. So all of a sudden, it's been like a 360-degree turn here for Jacob Markstrom the last couple games. They saved Shesterkin for this game tonight, which was kind of weird. It's almost like, yeah, Edmonton's a juggernaut. We think Calgary's maybe more of a winnable game. Maybe that's what Gerard Gallant's thinking, but he saved his best goalie for this game. And look, with Calgary right now, they're getting the chances. They outplayed Nashville. They outplayed Dallas. But at the end of the day, what did they have to show for it? A loss. So they're just not finding that extra gear right now. I'm tempted to I'll tell you this right now. It's Rangers or pass for me at this price. With Shesterkin, and you're going to give me plus 140. Even though it's a back-to-back, Edmonton to Calgary travel's not that grueling. Calgary's struggling to find ways to just close the door right now on this homestand. I'm tempted, very much so, to back the New York Rangers once again tonight, even though they just couldn't close the door for me last night against Edmonton. Now, what do you think here, Jimmy? Rangers and Flames?
I'm going to stay away from the side on this, guys, but I really like the under. I mean, I don't see if Markstrom's confirmed yet. I don't believe he's expected still. But even still, you got to think they're going to go with him. And the goaltending on both sides is really good. So I think also, too, after the game that the Rangers had last night, they're going to really tighten up. They're going to try and, obviously the coach is probably like, we can't have that again tonight. So I'm thinking that maybe we get an under here. So I'll go with that.
All right. Under 5.5 here, New York Rangers and Calgary Flames for Jimmy Murphy in this one. The Rangers, I'll tell you what, it was a good game for all their big guns last night. They did what they had to do against a team like Edmonton. They scored. They matched the Rangers, they matched the Oilers' firepower, but defensively, they just came unglued a little bit in the third period. And of course, when Connor McDavid takes over, it can be a little bit dangerous. And we saw that last night. How dangerous it can be for the opponent when he has it going like he did last night. All right, the final game on this Saturday card, New Jersey and San Jose. San Jose minus 130, home favorites in this game, 5.5 the total in this game. The San Jose Sharks had been doing an unbelievable job through a bunch of COVID-19 absences and a shorthanded roster until the other night. They finally lost one to the St. Louis Blues 5-3. We'll see who's back tonight for them, but it's still a laundry list of people out of the lineup. No Vlasic, no Semek, no Nieto, no Carlson, no Kevin Labanc, no Timo Meier. I mean, and then there's no timetable for whether they'll return. Could it be tonight? Perhaps, but I'm thinking probably not imminently that any of these guys will be back here for the San Jose Sharks. On the other side of the fence, you got the New Jersey Devils, who right now are kind of slumping. Hey, they gave the Kings a great battle last night, but fell short 3-2 in overtime. They're just 1-4 in their last 5 games. New Jersey now on the second night of back-to-backs. They haven't been good, 1-5 in their last 6 on the second night of back-to-back games. However, the over 5-0 in the last 5 tries where the Devils have been on the second of back-to-back games. So I think we could get this game over the total because of that. Certainly San Jose, they've been able to find ways to scoring goals even with all these key guys out. And the one thing about San Jose, they scored 5 against Buffalo, scored 3 against St. Louis, and gave up 5. With so many new faces in the lineup, it's hard to develop that chemistry and cohesion. You got new lines, you got new defensive pairs because of all these absences. You see mistakes with the puck up and down the lineup when you've got so many changes throughout all 4 forward lines, throughout all 3 defensive pairs. You got guys playing with each other that aren't used to, and sometimes you get mistakes defensively when that happens, and that has me leaning over the total here as well. I'm seeing that San Jose, the efforts there, these guys are really competing hard with all the guys out, the guys that are taking the spots on up front and on the blue line, but they're making a lot of miscues with the puck. And also the goaltending of Adin Hill is becoming concerning. After a great start to the year, it has not been good for Adin Hill as of late, and he struggled again versus San Jose the other night. Actually, it's James Reimer's been the better goalie for San Jose, and he's going to be in net tonight. 1.54 goals against, 950 save percentage. He's definitely been the better of these 2 goalies, so maybe you lean Sharks because of that. And with the Devils, a bad track record on the second night of back-to-back games, so has me leaning a little to San Jose, even though they're still shorthanded, but I might just stick with over 5.5 here, Devils and Sharks. Jimmy, what do you think here? New Jersey, San Jose.
This is a Jimmy pass.
This is a Jimmy pass. Nothing wrong with that. It is tricky, this game. You're right. Devils have been struggling. You kind of want to back San Jose, but they're shorthanded, and maybe they came back down to earth with the St. Louis loss. They're doing the best they can with so many key cogs out. This might be a game, yeah. If you get involved, do it for a minimal amount. If you're going to bet this game, Devils and Sharks. Great stuff with Jimmy Murphy and a great Saturday show, great Saturday card, 12 games. Excited to see how it all transpires. Looking forward to it. Thanks to everyone for joining us live as always. We'll wrap up the show now with best bets. Jimmy, we'll start with you. What do you like for your best bet here on Saturday?
As I already said, it's going to be the Colorado Avalanche -1.5.
All right, there we go. Colorado -1.5 on the puck line against Columbus. That's +150. Colorado puck line against Columbus. Best bet for Jimmy Murphy. And my best bet for this Saturday card, I'm going back and forth between a couple of games. I'm going to go with, let me just see here. It's, let's do Carolina, Florida over 6. I'm going to go with that. It was either that or Seattle in regulation. I like that one quite a bit as well. But I'll go Carolina, Florida over 6. Cashed a ticket with Florida over the total in their last game against Washington, noting the injuries on defense. 2 of your starting 6 on the blue line, and arguably, to be honest with you, your 2 best stay-at-home shutdown defenders as well. So, and they got into a little bit more of a run and gun, suspect defensively type of a performance in that game against Washington. And I think you're probably going to see a good chance to see more of the same here tonight. And Carolina, Florida have trended over the total in head-to-head meetings as well. 2 very good offensive teams. We know that. So I think we'll get goals there. Carolina, Florida over 6. That'll be my best bet for this Saturday NHL card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. We thank everybody for joining us. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week on YouTube, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. You can tune into the podcast on all those platforms. For Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Cash some tickets. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Sunday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.